So I was in a space today, just listening in. Like I work during the day, okay, and I don't work from home no more, so I can't even slide in spaces, sneak up in there, and talk a little bit. I just have to listen and use my Twitter fingers to defend my points, okay. But shout out to Tina Schroeder, I think Schroeder, I think is her name. She had hosted this space. I was like, I just let me jump in because Miss Gina was in it, so I follow Miss Gina. So sometimes I just slide into the space and I wanted to listen. And the topic of conversation was talking about elite quarterbacks, okay? Um, Talking about elite quarterbacks, and they got into a point of giving their top 5 quarterbacks in the league. And if I took an interest into something, I might ask a question or two, okay? And specifically, this guy named My Team One, which I'm sure he changed that for this week. But Zach 22 Mike is his I guess I keep saying Twitter, but his X handle, right? Uh, that almost sounds like it used to be his handle back in the day, and it's not. Anyway, um, so he was saying, like, he had said something about being elite. And I think I had questioned him. You can kind of see as you go through the conversation, like especially in this tweet here. I don't know if y'all can see my mouse, but he mentioned being elite and what the factors of being elite are, right? And I just found it interesting because wins on a quarterback stat until we want to flip them opposite and make them losses, then they're a quarterback stat. Very, very interesting to me. He didn't say this. I'm just saying that's just the logic we use sometimes. But I was just basically saying by his logic of his definition of elite. So I'm gonna say so his definition of elite is, and I'm gonna quote this: elite guys do it year after year, and they can do stuff no one else can. They're the most clutch. They have the it factor. No games are out of hand with them. No matter the score, they are elite dudes. And right now, there's only one in the NFL, but there are some great players, right? That's what he said. And I was just saying, based off of that logic, right? And now, albeit, I'm in the space, I'm listening, but I can't hear everything. So I heard it, I typed it up, and then I kind of re-asked my question again too. I was saying by that logic, then Mahomes is the only quarterback worth anything because who else is consistently doing anything in the playoffs? Because that's what we want to factor into being elite, right? And he was basically saying, I said you can win with a good quarterback, but there's only one elite one. I just thought that was interesting. I asked him what's the definition of elite, and he gave me the definition I just read to you. But interestingly enough, in this whole, in this whole conversation, basically, everybody was kind of in agreement that Mahomes is kind of on a tier by himself, right? I disagree. I agree that Mahomes is probably on a tier by himself, with Hall of Fame coaching, a Hall of Fame tight end, and a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I agree that he's probably in a tier by himself. I do, regardless of any of that I just said, right? But at the same time, like, I hate that we hold quarterbacks to standards of they're only elite if they get it done in the playoffs. Yes, the playoffs are important. They are some of your most important games that you play. I get that. But at the same time, I have this thought of like other elite quarterbacks. And it's weird because we're in this era of social media too, right? We're in this era of social media where everything is scrutinized. Everything is under this microscope of things that, you know, everything you do, every mistake you make, every big play you make can be talked about in an instant, right? Like I know like that's how it is. I get that. I understand that. And that's probably why it's so different compared to what it was when Peyton was here, what it was when Favre was here. Because a lot of people will probably say Peyton Manning was an elite quarterback. Favre is an elite quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, in his prime, probably even right now, is an elite quarterback. A lot of people would say that, right? Now, like right now, like I said, this is my thing. I think there are more. I think the league is super talented. I think there are more elite quarterbacks than we know of. We talk about franchise QBs. We talk about guys who win with less. We talk about guys who can't get it done. Who can't get it done. We talk about guys who can get it done. That's what we do nowadays. But at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking like I don't like the logic of you have to be perfect in the post because there was another thing that because a lot of people wanted to use the same logic, right? A lot of people wanted to use the same logic of winning in the playoffs and being there year by year and no matter the score. A lot of people use the same logic in the discussion, but it was interesting to me because a lot of people didn't want to put Joe Burrow in that conversation. And if we're gonna use the same logic, you have to use the same logic. You can't just say, "Well, I'm not gonna include Joe Burrow in it because right now he's playing bad." No. We talking about the last 2 seasons, right? We talking about the last, not the last 2 seasons, but we talking about more so in previous seasons. I mean, you can say right now, but how are we gonna say somebody's elite if y'all want to base it mostly off of what they do in the playoffs? Right? Mostly off of what they do in the playoffs. Not, we don't want to factor in play calling because that's an excuse. We don't want to factor in drops because that's an excuse. We don't want to factor in injuries because that's an excuse. We don't want to factor in the fact that guys haven't finished the last 2 seasons. So we don't even really know where they would have finished if the season would have, if they would have played the whole season anyway. Oh, because that's an excuse. So, my thing is, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna put my I'm gonna try not to be too biased here, right? Because a lot of people want to put like here's the thing, like this is what was funny to me. They didn't want to put Joe Burrow in it. They wanted to put Josh Allen in it. Like, what has Josh Allen done? Seriously, like let's just be honest. What has Josh Allen done? Right? Especially if we factor in the last 2 seasons, because we're definitely judging Lamar Jackson out for missing the last two halves of the last seasons, right? Last two back ends, I should say, right? The last two, what was that? Probably about a fourth of the season, right? We're definitely judging, like we're forgetting about Lamar Jackson. I talked about it before. We're forgetting about the Ravens because of what happened the last couple seasons. So, like I think like all of that factors in, and it was funny because the topic of discussion was elite quarterbacks. Who's elite? There's one elite quarterback, and that's Mahomes. And I can agree that Mahomes is an elite quarterback, but I don't think you can say that Mahomes is the only elite quarterback just because of playoff successes. I don't see that, right? We talking about what does Mahomes let's talk about it. What does Mahomes do that nobody else does, right? It feels like not to say he always makes the play because he's not perfect, right? But more often than not, he's gonna make the play, right? He's gonna win you more games than he loses, right? He's gonna put you in a position to be a contender, right? Um, and if need be, he's going to figure out how to do more with less, right? But if you spit all of those things right back out, right? How many guys in this league can you say do that, right? How many? Let's just think. Let's think. Joe Burrow's got the best talent in the league, right? Like he got the best talent in the league around him. Justin Herbert has the best talent in the league around him, right? Trevor Lawrence, I mean, I don't know if you put him at that level yet, right? Like, and you can't put Justin Herbert in there because of the play. I guess the playoff loss, but I'm not factoring in like playoff stuff right now. Like I'm talking about just overall as players. Um, Aaron Rodgers is gonna keep you in it. Like Aaron Rodgers is gonna keep you in it every time, right? Like Aaron Rodgers is gonna keep you in the game. He gonna keep you in contention every single time. Um, I feel like I'm missing somebody. Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen doesn't lose more games for his team than he wins, but Josh Allen makes some suspect mistakes too. Like, I know we don't want to talk about it, but Josh Allen makes some suspect mistakes too. Somebody put Jared Goff up there, which I mean, I do like Jared Goff. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I don't know about that one. Right? I don't know about that one. Like, and I'm just looking through the list of guys. Like, I mean, I think Jalen Hurts deserves some credit, but I think Jalen Hurts is the beneficiary of one season right now, right? So it's hard to say. I think it's hard. Like, let me let me just be honest. Let me stop beating around the bush on this one. I think it's hard not to put Lamar Jackson in the conversation, in the elite conversation, right? I think it's hard to not put Lamar Jackson in the elite conversation. Lamar Jackson has led the league in touchdown passing and a run first offense. You've seen the yin and the yang, right? Of Lamar Jackson on the field, Lamar Jackson not on the field. Ravens with Lamar Jackson, Ravens without Lamar Jackson. We've seen it. We know what that is, right? We've seen what that means. We've seen the differences in that, right? We've seen wins versus losses, whether you want to call them a QB stat or not. We've seen it. Once again, and you know, I brought up those 4 points of making the play to win the game. You're never out of a game, right? You're never out of a game. Doing more with less. You know, like I think, and I can't remember the point that I made, but you know, even just those three things, I think Lamar Jackson ticks all those boxes, right? You're gonna win more than you're gonna lose without him. He's gonna do more with less. He's proven that time and time again. No matter how you know how much we want to discredit, regardless, whatever, right? You can overcome bad play calling, right? Even going back to his logic of they do it. So because once again, I'm saying this. I'm saying this like this, right? Elite guys do it year after year. Lamar Jackson does it year after year. You were in contention because of Lamar Jackson, not because of that top five offense you've had since the Ravens' inception, right? He can do things no one else can do. Literally, I talked about Houdini plays earlier in this show about Lamar Jackson making plays. Literally, nobody else on the planet can. And if anybody else can, it's like there's a rare few. It's the 1%, right? The most clutch factor, the it factor, right? The ability to win, that kind of mama mentality. I would say Lamar Jackson has that. I don't think we get to see Lamar Jackson in those situations enough to prove otherwise, because either the Ravens are firmly in control, or I mean, but we've seen when Lamar Jackson has to show up. We've seen when I mean, has he made some mistakes? Yeah, every quarterback has, Mahomes included. So it's that's just that's my thoughts on that. No games are out of hand. How many times Lamar Jackson been blown out in his career? I can't find one. And then you know back to again, no matter the score, they're in the game. Like, it's just, I mean, the score doesn't ever get out of reach when Lamar Jackson in the game. So that's a whole nother thought process on that. I mean, and even still, like, go back to, let's go back to the Chiefs games a couple of years ago, right? Where you start off a little slow, but you figure it out. Like, that happens, right? That happens. You start, sometimes some games you start off slow. You got to figure it out. But anyway, just thought that was a fun little thing to bring up. We were talking about elite guys. We were talking about elite quarterbacks. Let me know who number one. Let me know. Do you think Lamar Jackson is elite? Just whatever you think is whatever you think, right? I probably will respond to you if you say yay or nay. And then at the same time, regardless of what you think of Lamar Jackson, who would you say are elite quarterbacks, right? What does that term elite mean? Because I mean, I think it's very open ended sometimes. I think like, once again, like we said, like we say the GOAT is the GOAT based off of championship wins, right? So that, I mean, that's just what we say. Like, I think Brady became the GOAT because of championship wins, not because he was necessarily the most talented, but it was talent plus that competitive edge too. So, you know, who knows? But anyway, definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll definitely be back once again to preview this upcoming game against the Detroit Lions. I'm being for real this time. I'm definitely going to be back. I'm not letting this week take over me doing this preview. I don't care if I got to sit in the car for 5 minutes. I will do a preview of the Detroit Lions game because I'm excited to see what's going to happen, man. Like, I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen in that game because it should be a good one, man. It definitely should. Um, it definitely should be a good one against a team who I think is kind of on the rise and got a lot to prove. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Flock Nation Speaks. Once again, Flock Nation Speaks is on all major podcasting platforms for my video people. I'll put it up for you so you can see it. Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, all your favorites, and also on YouTube as well. So be sure to check the podcast out unless you're and if you're listening, let me know you're listening as well. We'll see you guys on the next one. Definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Until